What's going on, guys? Tim Ruswick here from Game Dev Underground, and today we're going to talk about a press kit, because a press kit is something really important in indie games. I think a lot of people underestimate how important it is, and it is definitely something you need if you want to get featured and you want to get your game out there, you want to get some press. There are a lot of famous options out there that maybe aren't so great. I'm not going to go into detail on which ones are good and which ones aren't. But I wanted to share with you a template that I've used in the past, running my marketing company, doing some PR stuff. I set up a lot of press kits for specific things for different people, for different clients. And I found a format that I think worked pretty well. I want to share it with you guys. And let's just hop into it. So I wrote an article a while back that had my entire template in it. And I'll link this in the description if you want to actually go through the article. But what we're going to do is we're going to go through my little template that I made, and I figured that most people were going to want to set up their website however they wanted, so I didn't make this an HTML template. This is just a visual template, kind of like an infographic for you guys to look at, but we're going to kind of go through it step by step, and we're going to see where each section goes. So at the top of a press kit, one of the most important things to have is a header image, and it doesn't actually have to be like a long, horizontally long image like this that kind of describes your game. There's a lot of places that do this well, where sometimes they do a full spread image. If you look at GDU.io, something like this would work too, like something that has a lot of your games. It's got the like main mission points, and it kind of tells you what your game is and all that visually very quickly. You want to make sure that you include that right off the bat so you can grab their attention, so it looks something interesting. Because remember, even though this is a press kit and the primary purpose of this is for press people to find information, it needs to be visually appealing, because everything is easier to look at when it's visually appealing. And these guys look at thousands of press kits per day, or not per day, but over the lifetime, they're looking at these things all the time. So you want yours to stand out, you want yours to look good. You don't want it to get in the way of what they're trying to find, because a lot of times people are looking specifically for a quick piece of information. So you want to make it quick and simple, which is why number 2 right here is quick facts. You want to include very specific facts right up front, right near the top, or links, some kind of navigation or that kind of thing right up top. So you've got things like the name, location, release date, platform, website, price, etc. So those are very basic quick facts of what your game is, and you want to make sure that you include those so that people that are just looking for those facts to write an article right now, they can find this stuff for you, and get the info on your game, so they don't have to waste time in your press kit. Next to that or below that, I like to put a game introduction, and this section should introduce your game briefly with a story, a relevant feature or two, and a challenge. So you can set it up depending on what type of game you have. You can say things like face the odds against the never-ending crusade for meatball dominance. The dinner table wants to destroy your world. Show them why they can't. Right? So that would be like a story-based game where you want to walk the player through something story-wise. If it's not story-based, if it's like strategic, like you can say things like, show your friends who's the boss with these head-to-head battles, things like that. But you wanna have an introduction to the game, but you wanna have it to where it makes sense in the game world, where you're describing kind of what the game is, but you're saying it from an active standpoint. It's not passive. You're not saying this is a game about this. You're trying to draw them in with the sentences that you pick. Because a lot of people will copy and paste this stuff too. When someone's trying to write an article about your shit, a lot of them are lazy, and I hate to say it, but they are. So they'll copy and paste things from your press kit directly into the article. So just remember that, and don't put anything here that you wouldn't want copy and pasted into an article about you. I like to put a request copy button right up front. Usually this is right below the header image. Sometimes it can be a part of the header image. usually you want it to be very easy to find. You don't want it to be dominant because you don't want that to be the actual action they take on the page. But you want it to be pretty easy to find because if they want a copy, you want to get them one. So the security of how this works and the technical details of delivering keys and not getting ripped off and all that is a whole nother subject. But you want to make it easy for someone to request a copy of your game or for a press review and that kind of thing. So you got to include your logo and icon. So this is number 5. You want high-res copies. You want different versions. If your logo only looks good on white or something like that, you want to include white and black versions. Or you want to include versions that have their background on them. That can look ugly. So I would highly suggest that you have dark and light versions. Because I've seen this a lot where someone will put like a really light version and then it'll get included in an article and it'll be like on a white background and then the logo is really hard to see. So make sure you understand the context of what this is for, including your logo and your icon on a press kit. These people are going to copy your logo. They're going to put it in their article. And everybody has a different website with different colors and different spacing and all that. So you got to keep in mind that your logo is for that purpose. And the things you put up here, again, are going to be copy and pasted. So you also want to have trailer and or videos. Videos are fantastic. One of the cool things that I've seen done with videos before is actually the header image is like a full screen type of video. That's a really cool effect. But you do want to make sure that the videos can be copy and pasted. So you don't want to do some weird parallax effect where they can't use that video for something, if you understand what I'm saying. So you want to have videos, but you want to have like the copy and paste embed code or links to the YouTube description or whatever on your videos, because again, these videos aren't to get them excited about the game. These videos are for them to use use in an article to get other people excited about the game. So you got to make sure you know that and make it easy for them to copy and paste your videos or link to your videos. Same thing with screenshots. I like to include a bunch of different screenshots that show a bunch of different levels, especially if you've got like major color variations or set variations in your different levels or your different settings. You want to include like a bunch of variation here so they can kind of pick and choose what matches for them. Some of them just, again, copy everything and they take it all and they put it in there. But you want to make sure that you have all your bases covered. You want to put really good looking screenshots. You want to put action shots. And these don't exactly have to be screenshots. Like some of them can be like, let's look at, I think Clash of Clans does this. Let's look at their Play Store. So these aren't actual screenshots, right? Like this is like their title image, but they have graphics on top of the actual screenshots. So you can do stuff like this as well, because again, this is going to be used by a person to show to other players. So it's perfectly fine to design stuff like this, knowing the context of how these images are going to be used. And a lot of people do this, but just keep this in mind. Keep in mind the context. These are going to be people reading an article that are going to see this, and it's going to be seen by the people that are putting this article together, and they're the ones that are going to pick it. So that's an important consideration for images. You want to include quotes and articles in there. If you've been featured before, you always want to include a link, and this is you want your press kit to be never ending, right? So every time someone covers you, you update your press kit with new quotes and new articles. And you can do both side by side. You can have quotes from each link, and then you want to link to the article there. You want to do this because there's a concept called social proof, which if someone sees that a bunch of other people are doing it, they're more likely to jump on the bandwagon and do it as well. But also, again, this can be used for lazy writers to copy and paste into their article. And the whole goal of a press kit is to make it super easy to make an article and write an article about your game. And the easier you make it, the more likely you are to get articles written about your game. So quotes and articles are really important, and it's really important that you keep up to date with this because, again, if you send your press kit to somebody and the last article is like from 2014 or something, that looks bad on you. So keep the shit updated. You want to include additional links. Sometimes you want to, like if you have a studio, you want to link to additional work. If you have teammates that have their own websites or something like that, or you work with other studios and want to include links to them so that they can be included and you can show people about it. If this one's about your studio too, so if you have a studio, you want to include your studio's logo and a brief understanding of, all that, so that they know who made the game. And again, this is for lazy writers to use and copy and paste in their articles, so they don't have to spend a lot of time going through all this. So last two things here, you want to put the credits. So like I said, if you've got for smaller games, you want to list all the contributors. I like to list even people that have helped out, people that have tested. This isn't really necessary to list like a whole list of credits. If it's longer, you might want to consider leaving this section out. Or if it's the way this works best is if you have a really small game, 1, 2, or 3 people, maybe 4 or 5 that have worked on it, and you want to list them and their credentials. Like if this is one dude, that's more of a story too. So they can say, hey, this was made by one guy. Here's the guy that includes your picture or whatever. Just think everything you put into your press kit, think in terms of a story. How will this be used by the writer to create a story? And if there's no use in adding something in for a story, leave it out, because it's just going to add bulk and it's not going to be good. The very last thing you want to add, and this is very important, and I see a lot of people that set up press kits that don't do this, is they don't put a permission disclaimer and give the media permission to use all the content for commercial use. You need to give them permission right away, because if a lot of the bigger media outlets, they can get in trouble for posting stuff that they don't have permission to use. And especially if it's your original content, if it's your copyright content, if it's got your logo, if it's got your intellectual property on it, you want to give them permission right here, right out in the open, so they can see it, to use everything on this page. Give them direct permission and remove all legal obligations and all of that. This doesn't really matter for some of the smaller time writers, because a lot of those guys just do whatever the hell they feel like. But a lot of more bigger professional writers, they will look for this specifically. And a lot of times, if they can't find the permission to use your content, they will not message you about it. They won't say, hey, can we have permission to do this? They'll just skip over it, because they have 1,000 other games waiting in their inbox to cover. So it's really important that you include permission disclaimers. So that's basics. That's the basics of a indie game press kit template. Obviously, the HTML and building this is going to be a lot different than just the actual template. But I think it's really useful. You can set something up like this, in Unbounce or WordPress or Wix or any of those services. You can set something up like this. There are a lot of things out there that do stuff like this. I don't know if they're customizable to the point where you can get something like this. One of the things I was thinking of doing, though, and you guys let me know in the comments if this would be something you're interested in, is for Game Dev Underground, I was thinking of creating like a wizard where you could enter all your information and it would generate a press kit for you. It'd be really cool to have a press kit on there as well. I think that would be really interesting. So leave your comments below what you think of this, whether or not we should include something like this in Game Dev Underground, what you guys think. I'd love to hear from you guys. As always, once again, I'm Tim Ruswick, and I will see you guys next time.